Hello. This is the day that God has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Today, we bid a farewell to someone we love. We've all had the privilege of having a view of him. I am not sure what to call this, whether it's a memorabilia, but I have in my hand a golf ball. Because for Eefasaw, golf was a passion. And so the golfers and myself decided we'll put a golf ball with him. We don't know if there are golf courses out there. But if there is one, we're sure he will have a wonderful time, not with this kind of balls, but possibly gold balls, not made with human hands. Because in our life, we remember each other by the things we do and the things we celebrate together. So loving God, we are grateful to you for the gift of the life of your servant, whom you have taken from time to eternity. We bid him a farewell. We pray that, Lord, we will not remember him in a casket, but we will remember him through the beautiful pictures in the bulletin. That will remind us of the laughing times, the joyful times, and those times, Lord, when we were together on trips and celebrations. Fill our hearts with gratitude for the years you gave him to us. We thank you now, Lord, that he is at rest. Rest eternal grant unto him, O Lord, and let light perpetual shine upon him. May he rest in peace. May his soul and the souls of all the faithful departed, with the mercy of God, rest in perfect peace.
Dying, Christ destroyed our death. Rising, Christ restored our life. Christ will come again in glory. As in baptism, Samuel Eefasaw put on Christ, so in death, May Samuel be clothed with glory. Here and now, dear friends, we are God's children. What we shall be has not yet been revealed, but we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Those who have this hope purify themselves as Christ is pure.
Shall we stand?
Let us all stand. I am the resurrection and the life, says the Lord. Whoever has faith in me shall have life, even though he dies, and everyone who has life and has committed himself to me in faith shall not die forever.
As for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and that at the last he will stand upon the earth. After my awakening, he will raise me up, and in my body I shall see God. I myself shall see, and my eyes behold him, who is my friend and not a stranger.
himself, and none becomes his own master when he dies. For if we have life, we are alive in the Lord. And if we die in the Lord. So then whether we live or die, we are the Lord's possession.
From now on are those who die in the Lord.
So it is, says the Spirit, for the rest from their labors.
Jesus said, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I hold the keys of hell and death. Because I live, you shall live also. Friends, we have gathered here to praise God and to witness to our faith as we celebrate the life of Samuel Archer Davies. We come together in grief, acknowledging our human loss. May God grant us grace that in pain we may find comfort, in sorrow, hope, in death, resurrection. Please be seated. I'd like to invite you to turn your phone to silent mode. And also, I have an announcement to make before we begin. We pick up a key, a Toyota key. So if you lose that key, please let us know. And then opening prayer, Reverend Smart will lead us in prayer.
Please stand as you are able for the opening prayers. Eternal God, we praise you for the great company of all those who have finished their cause in faith and now rest from their labor. We praise you for those dear to us whom we now name in our hearts before you. Especially, we praise you for Samuel, whom you have graciously received into your presence. To all of these, grant your peace. Let perpetual light shine upon them, and help us so to believe where we have not seen, that your presence may lead us through our years, and bring us at last with them into the joy of your home, not made with hands, but eternal in the heavens. Through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen. Remain standing. Let us sing the hymn, opening hymn, Father of Everlasting Grace. You may be seated. For the Old Testament readings by Miss Yvonne Archer Davies, followed by Miss Lisa Archer Davies.
Ecclesiastes 3:1-12. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to search, a time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them, a time to embrace, a time, and a time to refrain, a time to search, and a time to give up, a time to keep, and a time to throw away, a time to tear, and a time to mend, a time to be silent, and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from the beginning to the end. I know that there is nothing better for the people than to be happy and to do to do good while they live. Word of the Lord.
Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice. The earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
And now we'll hear tributes in the order of the bulletin, what's in the bulletin. And also all the speakers, please speak at the pulpit.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Saul Harris. I worked with Sam several years at Goddard Space Flight Center here in Greenbelt, Maryland. Goddard is the preeminent earth science organization within NASA. Sam was the Chief Safety Mission Assurance Officer for several projects there at NASA. These are multi-billion-dollar projects. You manage several technical persons, and Sam was the best at it, in my opinion. He mentored me. I read his bio, and I did not know he started at Goddard in 1972, of which I was only 12 years old. So, when I got to Goddard, my first memory of Sam, I was walking down the hall, and he pulled up in front of the building, and he hopped out the car, and he ran into Esmond's office. Esmond was our supervisor, and I thought there was something really important going on, and they were late for their golf outing with the golf league. And if you know Sam, he loved golf, and one year they won the league, and he never let anybody forget about it. Sam was a kind, gracious, humble human being. And he had a very polite way of speaking to folks. And he would start off a letter by, "Would you be so kind?" And that's very disarming when you have to talk to somebody, because they put you at ease when they're trying to communicate with you. These projects are very complicated. You're always doing a host of problems, but he handled them with grace. And he taught me to handle them with grace. He was my friend. He was my brother. And he made me a better human being. And I'm thankful for him being a part of my life. If you want to think about Sam, I encourage you to watch the weather. Why do I say that? The last project that we both worked on was the latest generation of weather satellites and ground terminals. So the current weather you see every day is the project that we worked on. So when you see that, you'll be reminded of him. It's the most unique weather program that's ever been created. They're the most unique satellites that have been created, and Sam managed that process with professionalism, good humor, and kindness. I will miss him dearly. I will love him always. He was my friend, but more importantly, he was my brother. And I thank God for him, and I thank God for the Archer Davies family. Thank you.
Good morning, church. Please excuse me if I deviate sometimes from my prepared speech. Sometimes I like to make a point, and I just get away from the what I've written. I want to take this opportunity of thanking all the members of the Archer Davies family for allowing me to give this tribute to my best friend and brother, Eefasaw. Please excuse me too if I call him Eefasaw, because that's, some people say Sam, that's his first name, but Eefasaw is it's a common name that we used to call him. My family has had a long relationship with Eefasaw and his family. Eefasaw's dad and my wife, Rosalind's dad, were close friends. His father was a popular and talented organist at Wesley Methodist Church in Freetown, and Rosalind's dad was a choir master at College Chapel Methodist Church at Robin Street, Freetown. Quite often, Rosalind's father would invite Mr. Davies to come and assist with the musical settings. So the families got to know each other at an early age. I attended the Methodist Boys High School in Freetown. Eefasaw and his older brother, Rodney, also attended the same school. This is where I first met Eefasaw. After he graduated, he went to the then Forabi College, now the University of Sierra Leone, where we again crossed paths. He was an engineering student at the time. We lost touch for quite a while when he went to the UK for further studies and attended the Newcastle University, where he later graduated with a degree in electronic engineering. I think all that is included in the program. Well, before his graduation, Eefasaw would take up summer jobs in the US, and among other activities, sell ice cream from the ice cream truck in Washington, D.C. That was a summer job most of the time. Interestingly enough, this was the period when he met a young college student, Miss Jemina Henry, whose father was financial attaché at the Sierra Leone Embassy in Washington. Eefasaw wasted no time in courting Jemina and asked his father for her hands in marriage. Well, of course, I later learned that Jemina's dad was very concerned about her young age, but finally gave the nod anyway. They were married in December of 1974. At birth, her parents were convinced that she was a gem. I'm talking about Jemina. So she was given the name Jemina. She became Eefasaw's gem. You see, you can't polish a gem without friction. So there was a lot of friction. Eefasaw had to work hard they complemented each other with their marriage in 1972 until his death. They were blessed with 3 girls for a while until God sent a grandson, Trey, to help him with his golf course. Yeah. Most of the time, I would ignore the positive and lovely, I could not actually ignore the positive and lovely interaction with all Eefasaw and his girls, which intensified when he got sick, very ill. My family would drive from New Jersey and would on weekends spend the time with them at their house, and they would do the same likewise. Both families would be invited to each other's family functions because of the fact that Eefasaw and Rosalind had the same birthday. Jemina and Rosalind would arrange birthday gatherings either at their home or at ours, and sometimes in the Caribbean with family and friends. Eefasaw had a pleasant demeanor, a gentleman. However, one could not always decipher his smiles. Can be sometimes. While working at the Goddard Space Center, he was quietly pursuing his professional training and career in engineering by achieving 2 master's degrees in electrical engineering and in operations research from George Washington University. He later worked for NASA and then he was an aerospace engineer, retiring as chief mission assurance officer there. In his humility, I never had him brag about working at NASA. Eefa had quite a lot of hobbies. He was a religious person and was an active member of the St. Matthew's United Methodist Church. Eefa would do chores around the house. Can you believe it? He used to prepare dinner sometimes. And he would hang curtains. He would do all the little things that the family head will be doing. He loved traditional values when it came to food and other traditions. It took a long time before Eefa, well, we all are guilty of that, some of us, before Eefa started wearing African clothing, what we call Africana today. But later on, he started wearing them, I think with the urge of Jamina, and he saw how he looked good in it. As I said, he liked looking good all the time, very meticulous. He was passionate about his golfing, and one of his golf partners was the Reverend Prince Aker. He loved and supported his high school, the Methodist Boys High School. He was a founding member and a former president of the Washington chapter. He encouraged his family to support it, and other alumni associations and other charitable organizations. Eefa loved music and would entertain guests and others with mixes. He loved taking pictures with a high-powered camera, which he carried around, and he would collect them, make videos, and entertain guests. In his teenage years, he was a professional table tennis player and would represent Sierra Leone in tournaments all around West Africa. Eefa loved baseball caps and would buy them anywhere he went, if possible, and he would sport them wherever he visits. I know, because I would give him a baseball hat sometimes as a present. Some may have different opinions about his personality, but you have to know him. He had a few friends and concentrated only on 2 organizations. As we celebrate Eefa's life, let us give thanks to God for knowing him and for the contribution he has made in this world. He has left quietly, no more pain. My condolences go to his wife, Jamina, children Samantha, Amira, grandson Trey, sisters Linda and Yvonne, sister-in-law Ayo, and her husband, Stan Seker, cousins, nephews, nieces, and other family friends. All I will say is, Eefa was born on my wife's birthday. Both of them had the same birthdays. And he died on my birthday. So how will I forget him? Rest in peace, brother.
Good afternoon, one and all. I would first of all like to ask the good Lord to forgive Davies all his sins and accept him into the kingdom of heaven. But I have no doubt that he has, because all golfers go to heaven. I also want to pray for the wife, the 2 daughters, and the grandson. May God help them to continue on in this life.
I must share with you a few anecdotes to see how Davies treated me, how he made me feel, and his faith in Jesus Christ. The first time I met Davies was 21 years ago on this very day at Langston Golf Course. I had played with the rest of the guys. There was a tournament, and I was a fledgling player. I had shot 103, and that's an atrocious score. But for me, I was trying to break 100. So that was as close as I got to 100. I went to the clubhouse and I was boasting about my score. And I turned around and I saw the scores. The best score was a 73, and I had 103. I bowed my head and I started walking away, and that's when Davies came up to me and he tapped me on the back. He said, "Young man, you can play with us." That's when he introduced his two friends, the Reverend Prince Decker and Blanchard Mack of blessed memory. He made me feel good that day, and he invited me to several other places to play, including the prestigious Bretton Woods Golf Course, where I was hacking the ball every which way I could. In playing with them, I realized that I had to improve my game. So I played, I studied, I practiced a lot. And one day, Davies and Blanchard Mark invited me to go play at Bowie Golf Course. We went to Bowie Golf Course, playing the golf course, and we got to hole number 7. I remember it so vividly because of how Davies treated me on that hole. I hit a drive that went straight down the fairway, and I hit another shot that went on the green. And then Blanchard Mark said, "Oops, you're going to save a birdie on that hole." So we got to the hole. I was about 25 feet away from the hole. And I just turned around and looked at the ball like, "Man, why got a birdie when you can get an eagle?" I hit the ball, it went in the hole, and I just said, "I told you get an eagle." So every time I play with Davies, I get a good feeling. Now, the one that takes the cake is when we wanted to play Woodmore Golf Course, but Woodmore is a private golf course. And they play at Bretton Woods, which is also a private golf course. But because of reciprocity, they arranged something, and I'm sure Jamina had something to do with this. We were able to play Woodmore Golf Course for the first time. We played the first 9 holes uneventful, and Blanchard Mark had to leave. So he left, so it was left with me, Prince Decker, and Davies. So we get to the 12th hole, and it was Prince's turn to play. He hit this ball on a par 3, and it rolled and went straight into the hole. And Acha and I turned around and looked at each other like, "Whoa, how did he do that?" And he said, "What are the odds of that, Mr. Math teacher?" I said, "Well, I'm just a lonely math teacher. You're the astronaut. You tell me how that happened." So we started talking. I said, "Acha, stop. Just hit your own ball." And then he hits his own ball. He has this wicked slice that I call, that always finds the fairway or the green. He hits his wicked slice, and it dropped about 2 feet from the hole. Now I'm in trouble, because this one guy just got a hole-in-one, and I'm sure he's going to get a birdie. And I'm so nervous, I hit the ball, and it didn't even get to the green. But we played, and I had a par, and that was the hole all of us won. And we decided we were going to call that hole Prince Decker's hole. So he and I, we were riding together. We were the two blind guys. Prince Decker is the one that can see. So the two of us were riding together. And we started talking about the odds of having a perfect golf game. Now, there's no such thing as a perfect golf game. There's a perfect soccer game. There's a perfect tennis game. There's a perfect baseball game. There are other games that have perfect outcomes. Golf does not. The greatest player of all time said that golf is an unending quest for an unattainable goal. That's from Jack Nicklaus. So we started talking about this, and we got to the clubhouse, and Achab got into his car. He started here at this time. He was driving, I think it was a green BMW 7 Series. So he started the car was running, and we were standing there still talking. He said, "Oh, I know who can play a perfect game." And I looked at him like, "Yeah, right, who?" He said, "Jesus." I said, "Well, if anyone can play a perfect game, it's going to be Jesus, because he's the only one who can hit that ball 18 times and get it in the hole each and every time." So I say this because of the way Acha looked at golf and the way he looked at his faith. And because Acha Davies now has no pain, is in heaven, and I understand that Jesus plays a round of golf every morning before he goes to his godly activities, I am sure Acha will not only be satisfied with watching him play or caddying for him. I think he will want to tee it off with the good Lord. And I say to Acha Davies, when you get your chance, he may have already played a few rounds with him already. When you get your chance, brother, don't disappoint. Please hit that wicked slice so it gets close to the green. Rest in peace, brother. Thank you.
Good morning, mourners. My name is Wilfred Kwesi Wood. Jamina and family, please permit me to give a tribute to a fellow alumnus, the late, great Samuel Eefasaw Archer Davies. On behalf of the Methodist Boys High School Alumni Association, Washington Metropolitan Area Chapter. Following which, I'd like your permission again to have the association and all other past pupils of the Methodist Boys High School to please join me around the casket so we can pay homage to Eefasaw. This is the man who was a chartered member of this association, a man who stuck his neck out to become the first president of this association. A man through his entire life remained dedicated to the association till his end. We've had a few tributes already, and when you read his obituary, I am left with no more diction to aptly describe the qualities of Eefasaw. Terms like dedicated, words like gentlemanliness, words like humility, are all what's been used to describe him. So I think at this point I just want to break the monotony by just telling you some lighthearted story about experiences that I had, of course, connected to the association, and also his dedication and devotion to the Methodist Boys High School Alumni Association, Washington Metropolitan Chapter. I must admit, though, I have a challenge. There are times when I speak, I quite seamlessly would transition into a vernacular, which is Creole. Whenever I do that, I'm not going to explain to those who don't understand what I meant. Because if I had the knack to do it, I would not transition into it. What I would advise you do is lean to your neighbor and say, what did he just say? You know, a few years ago, I was elected to be the president of this august organization. Myself and my executive saw a lot of work that we have to do to move this group from where it was to higher heights. I knew within myself that I cannot do it by myself, neither could I do it even with the help of my executive. But I believe strongly in the words of Isaac Newton, who once mentioned something to the effect that if I can see farther than you, I must be standing on the shoulders of giants. I figured that's the way I have to go to use my executive to move our association to a different level. And that's what I did. I looked among the association, I identified those who in my mind's eye I saw as giants. Eefasaw was one of them. The late, great Reverend Timothy was another one. The late, great Olukole, Jonathan Olukole was another one. I sent them an email separately. Back then, there was no texting, there was no WhatsApp. I sent them an email. Eefasaw responded. In my email, I said to Eefasaw, I admire your stature in the organization. My ambition is to become like you so that I can move this organization on a different level. And I want to ask you humbly to help me, show me the way so that I can succeed in accomplishing my goals. Eefasaw responded in the affirmative. So I would go to him all the time and tell him what I planned to do, and he would advise me, very cautious, giving cautious advice like, do not shake the apple cart. And by the way, he calls me Wilfred. My friends call me Kwesi all the time. He calls me Wilfred. I think today I know why. His dad was called Wilfred too. He says, Wilfred, whatever you do not shake the apple cart. But not being stubborn, because I'm not a stubborn fellow. I just like to know what I want to do and have my people come with me. I would go there and shake the apple cart and things would topple over. The whole system would go awry. And I would come back to Eefasaw. I said, well, this is what happened. And he would say to me, well, first thing, I'm glad you did what you wanted to do. But here we are now. If I were you, here's what I would do. Why am I telling you this story? Because I want to build on the foundation of what I just said, that Eefasaw was a dedicated, humble member of our great organization. Others would say to him, well, you've done what you want to do, go ahead and do what you want to do. But having said that, let me talk about other things that Eefasaw did in terms of the organization itself. Eefasaw, with his generous self, very often, after we would have done all the arrangements, and he would have given as much as he wants to give, we would have taken Jamina for distinguished Grand Chief Patron, Grand Chief Receiver. No matter what it is, we always go to Jamina for it. Eefasaw would always, at the reception part of the Thanksgiving, show up with a cake. The most scrumptious cake I've ever had. And as I would go through, I could lick my fingers so with this many, many slices I can only eat. I would say to myself, nah. First of all, he would give us the impression he baked it. I said, nah, there's no way a man can bake this cake. Because as I lick my finger, I get to feel that special taste of a feminine touch. Where else would that come but from Jamina? So Jamina, thank you for all of that. There are other things Eefa did for us. When we have our events, he is one that you don't have to ask, Eefa, would you like a ticket or two? No. We send him tickets for a table, and he takes it. And he calls me a week or two later to say, Wilfred, can I get 8 more tickets? I said, well, of course, I'll drop it off. He said, no, I'll come pick up from your mailbox because we don't live very far. This is what Eefa has done for us. But I would be remiss if I get my program done and don't mention an outstanding thing that Eefa did for the association as a president. He's the only president that I know, and if there are others, forgive me, I'm not one of those, who has gone to Freetown for Christmas, taken upon himself to corral all the teaching and administrative staff of the Methodist Boys High School, threw a Christmas party for all of them, and then gave each of them a Christmas bonus. He is an outstanding, a generous fellow. Now, having said all of that, I just want to pray that Eefa's soul fly peacefully to the great forevers, and that his soul finds sweet repose.
Thank you. Now we'll have a New Testament reading.
Hey everybody. Brothers and sisters, we don't want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you don't grieve like the rest of mankind, who have no hope. For we believe that Jesus died and rose again, so we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. According to the Lord's word, we tell you that who are still alive and who are left until the coming of the Lord will certainly not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will come down from the heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God. And the dead in the Christ will rise first. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we will be with the Lord forever. Therefore, encourage one another with these words. The word of the Lord. Thank you.
Would you all stand if you're able for the hymn, My Hope is Built on Nothing Less. now we'll have another tribute in the order that is printed in the bulletin.
Welcome, everybody. This is a tribute to a brother and a friend. Firstly, I must say it's a strange relationship because it started in babyhood. Eefa's father was the organist at Wesley Church, and my father was the lead tenor singer. And we worshiped there. There was a day, I think they call it family day now, when we are all around, and Eefa and myself started playing. You would think that after a few minutes we were fed up with each other, but we kept on playing. And both mothers said, "Let me care, look like himself." And that was how it started. Later on, we are in the same class in the Methodist Boys High School. And Eefa and myself had a very close relationship. We had another two friends, Noel Palmer and Arthur Williams, and they called us B4. Yes. We would go to school, sit together in the train. By the way, we were the only school in Sierra who had a train to take us to and from school. And we'll ride back again. And coming back to Water Street train station, we took a special route. Went up Wilberforce Street and then on to Shaka Stevens Street and Pademba Road, and we all walked home. That turn was because going up Wilberforce Street, we met the girls from the animals. Yes. Eefa was a quiet, soft-spoken, but warm person. And we developed a love for table tennis. And we played table tennis at least 2 or 3 times a week. We would go to the prison's canteen to play, or we would play at my house. Together with my younger brother, we pressed on our father to get us a table, and there was one in the garage. And we had a couple of other places we played. Eefa was exceptional. He beat us all the time. And it led on to him having a lot of trophies here in the USA. Academically, all four of us did well in school, but then we had a new boy in our school who came from both schools. He was damn sharp. And the first year, he beat us all. He was first. Then we sat together and said, this guy should not be first next time. So we divided up. If I had to beat him in physics, Noel had to beat him in maths. I had to beat him in chemistry, and also in religious knowledge, we beat him in all four. And he came fourth in class. Yes, as boys growing up, you're attracted to girls. And we developed a system. For example, coming from school sports, all the time we're four of us together. And we would tell a group where there's a lady there that one of us is interested in. But that person would not approach her. One of the other three would approach her. Hello, how are you? Keep on walking and say, there's somebody who wants to talk to you, but he's shivering, it feels that cheap. Going along, we convince her to talk to this person. It was very interesting at the time, and girls were very difficult to get. So, even though we've been introduced, you talk with a girl from Buffets to Cotton Tree, and you'll be lost for words, but there wouldn't be an answer. And by the time we get to Cotton Tree, we are nearing my house. Excuse me, you have to stop here, but you could just write a letter and send it to the animals from 4 or from 5 and give anybody there they'll give me. So you not yet passed the exam. Later on, when that letter arrived at the animals or girls' high school or wherever it is, they would write everything on the board. And then they start making corrections. Then they would rate you in a rating of 5, and they say, Bona, they get 4 votes, no manager. A nice boy, And that was how it went on. As somebody said earlier on, we are very much interested in music. Whenever I came to America, which I did at least every 2 years, I would spend a week with Eefa. I would be up till 2 in the morning, sorting out music, making CDs, and exchanging ideas. And if we partied well. You know, life is a journey. You live today, you dream of tomorrow, and you learn from yesterday. Eefa has reached the end of his own journey. We lost Eefasaw sometime 8 years ago. Now it's Noel and myself. We would miss you, Eefa. Jemina, Samantha. Yes, we know there's going to be that empty spot in the house. But the good Lord is there. Trey, you're the guy in the house now. Yeah, they should listen to you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Today, we're gathered here to in this beautiful sanctuary, not just to mourn the loss of an outstanding man, but also to celebrate the remarkable life of a man who was a brother in marriage, as well as a true friend and a shining example of a life well lived with integrity and excellence. Eefa and I met in 1972. That's a long time for many of you. And I just started working at the World Bank. And at that time, my late father-in-law, Mr. Frederick Henry, had just moved his family to Washington, D.C. from Sierra Leone. And having been appointed as an education attaché at the Embassy of Sierra Leone. Many of you here in the church have at some point told me that you were at one time a student of his. And others knew him at Mabuoka Boys Secondary School, where he was a principal. In the Henry household in Washington, D.C., there were three young ladies. One of them, the reason for my frequent visits to the household, was Ayo, who has been my wife now for 51 years. Yeah. And the youngest daughter, Jemina, was the one Eefa was pursuing very vigorously. But his efforts paid off. For until his passing, Jemina and Eefa lived a life of blissful marital bliss, and they would have celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary in December this year. Mr. and Mrs. Henry also became empty nesters when their third daughter, Tani, she's here, also got married shortly after. Eefa's obituary has done a very good job of describing his life. I would just like to dwell on a few aspects of his life that, as they relate to my relationship with him. I gained very valuable, useful, and practical hands-on information from Eefa's training as an electrical engineer. When we first moved into our house many decades ago, the basement was not finished. And I asked Eefa if he knew of anybody who could finish the job, of course at a reasonable cost. And he said, no, you do it. You finish it, and I'll help you to finish it. So, for nearly 6 months, aided by another friend, Katumba, I don't know whether he's here, from Uganda, we toiled until we finished the job. I learned about installing circuit breakers, recessed lights, dimmers, switches, and drilling, you name it, we did it. The job was successfully completed thanks to the expert advice and assistance from Eefasaw. And Eefasaw was a perfectionist, right? He always strived to do everything right to the best of his ability. He could easily dismantle something that he had put together if it did not meet his high standards. I observed this very firsthand during the time we were completing the basement and while executing other tasks. But this do-it-yourself spirit and pursuit of excellence sometimes has its limits. I was once visiting the Davies residence, the former residence on Serena Street, right? Serena Street in Kettering. I found Eefasaw digging a trench. I said, "What are you doing, bro? What are you doing?" He said, there's the pipe from the house to the street has burst underneath, and I'm digging, I want to get to it and fix it. And so I said, "Can't you call some experts to dig?" He says, "No, I'm going to do it." And he started digging. But, you know, I didn't volunteer. I know my limits. When it comes to the shovel and the pick, I said, "Please call experts." And he says, "No, I'm going to do it." And he kept digging. I came back a day or two later, he was digging. And he has still not reached the pipe because so finally he said, "I think this job is too big." So he finally called WSSC, you know, they came and did the job. As you have heard, Eefasaw loves sports, table tennis, soccer, American football. But as you heard from the Golf Association, golf was his passion. He and his golfing buddies, including Reverend Decker here, they would play golf even in the winter. They see a little sunshine, and the prediction says it will be around 50 degrees. You see them wearing their coats, ready to go. I'm not kidding. Yeah, but they had fun and their passion with it. Because he and his buddy, the late Blanchard Mark, they even traveled to several countries to play golf. And as for American football, he was a faithful fan of the Redskins, now known as the Commanders. Compared to Eefasaw, some of us are half-baked fans. I, for example, got tired of the Redskins losing. and I adopted another team up the road. Now his own wife completely abandoned the team. And she went all the way to the Midwest. She adopted Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. But not Eefasaw. Eefasaw would watch his Redskins. Even when there was an exciting game in the next channel that was better than this, no, he had to watch the games. But Eefasaw was finally, sorry to take so long, finally Eefasaw was a family man who loved and cherished his wife, Jemina, and their children, Samantha and Amira, and his grandson, Trey. Yeah. He also loved his two sisters, Linda and Yvonne. They're here both, and their children. In addition, he was fond of his nephews, especially Willie, Dabbington, Arthur, Howard, and their families, as well as Taiwo, whom he considered part of his family. He also had a place in his heart for one of our daughters, Dio, who was his goddaughter. Dio and her husband are here from Texas. Eefa, rest in peace, dear brother and friend. You lived a good life, and you will be missed dearly by all of us. We know that you will forever be in our hearts, and we will keep you in our thoughts and prayers. To the congregation, to all of you, I say thank you for coming today as we pay last respects to Eefa. May God continue to bless you all. Thank you.